Everyone knows how World War II ended. Hitler was defeated, Germany was in ruins, the Nazis were gone forever, right? But what if I told you some of them never surrendered? They didn't die or run to South America. Instead, they escaped somewhere way colder, a place no one controls, a place buried in ice, mystery, and silence. This is Antarctica, the last untouched continent. Even today, no one can live there permanently. You can't freely explore deep inside it. And actually, none of us truly know what's hiding beneath that ice. Yet, right after World War II, the US Navy sent thousands of soldiers there in one of the biggest military operations ever. Officially, it was for research, but many believe it was for something much darker. Welcome to Mystic Lab. Today, we're diving into one of the strangest, most controversial stories in modern history, the theory of Antarctica Nazi fortress. It all started back in 1938. Nazi Germany launched an expedition to Antarctica, officially for research, mapping, and whaling. Pretty boring, right? But that was never the real reason. The Nazis weren't going to the most isolated part of the planet to create new maps and catch a few fishes. They were looking for something else. A place where they could develop their most advanced technologies far from enemy and continue the war in secret. Unlike previous expeditions by other nations, Nazis' target wasn't the coastline. It was the deep inside of the continent. And according to many reports, they found something shocking in the inner part of the Antarctica. A place where under miles of ice, huge natural tunnels, and massive underground caves led them to a giant lake. This lake was warm and full of species never seen before. This was Lake Vostok. That discovery changed everything for the Germans. Suddenly, the plan for a base for advanced military machines developed into something way bigger, a secret, self-sustaining city where the next generation of pure race could live. They called it Base 211, a hidden home for the regime's most loyal scientists and their families. Now we jump to 1945, where some of the suspicions for continuance of the Nazi regime started growing. The war was over, Germany was finished, and the race for Nazi scientists was its start. The US launched Operation Paperclip. And during this operation, they managed to snatch over 1,600 top engineers and physicists. These were actually the same people who later built NASA. The Soviets didn't waste time either, and managed to drag nearly 2,500 scientists to Russia in just overnight. These very same experts were the main engine behind the first satellite the Soviets sent in space in 1957 and the first person they put there in 1961. But here's the strange part. A small group of nearly 100 scientists was never found. They just vanished. These weren't the rocket guys or weapon experts. They were biologists, doctors, and genetic researchers who were part of the Nazi secret society, the Vril. These people were obsessed with human longevity and life extension, and were among the highest ranking members of the party who had direct access to Adolf Hitler. They didn't end up in the US nor the Soviet Union, and some believe they were never meant to, because their final destination wasn't on any map. These missing scientists were part of a final escape plan to reach Base 211, a place powered by natural geothermal energy, perfect for their experiments. There, under the ice, they could keep working on two things: an anti-gravity technology they had almost developed during the war, and the secret to the eternal life. The Allies knew the remaining of the Nazi regime didn't just vanish. Their intelligence confirmed the missing elite scientists had been moved to Antarctica just before Berlin was captured. That's why, just 18 months after victory, the US launched Operation Highjump, a scientific expedition on paper, but with 4,700 men, 13 ships, a massive aircraft carrier, and 33 planes. This was far from science. The official statement claims it was all about mapping and research, but others suggest this was a full-scale military operation. Admiral Byrd wasn't sent to explore. He was sent to conquer the last remnants of the Nazi enemy. The fleet settled into Queen Maud Land, the initial place where the first German expedition started back in 1938. For the first couple of weeks, everything went as planned. Some of the personnel was doing mapping, others were taking samples from the ice. Despite everything going just as expected, many soldiers reported their supervisors an uneasy feeling. the constant sense that they were being watched. This suspicion only grew day by day, as it is obvious that the mission didn't need so many people and military machines just for mapping and ice samples. There was something else that was not communicated to the soldiers, something far darker than science. Only Admiral Byrd and his highest ranking officers knew the secret objective, and it was becoming more difficult to hide the truth as some anomalies started to appear. Strange noises were coming from under the water and the ice itself. Silent lights would pass by in the far distance at night, making it obvious that they were not alone. This continued for almost 2 months, a slow build of dread and paranoia. Finally, after the necessary intelligence was gathered, Byrd decided to send a large heavy armed group with the objective to explore the further inner part of the continent. Many questions arose, the ones that were chosen for the mission. Why only people with military experience, but no scientists were picked up? On the third day of the expedition, things turned sinister, and those questions found an answer. Through the darkness, just before the group was about to set up a camp to spend the night, one of the crew members spotted very weak lights that seemed to be coming from under the ice just a few miles away. Although the lights were barely visible, it was more than clear the source was certainly not from nature itself. As soon as the soldier reported what he saw, the radio silence on everyone's devices broke. The communications channel was suddenly hijacked, and a voice speaking English with a very heavy German accent demanded a cold, direct command to leave immediately. The shock was enormous among everyone, and nobody could act at first. Among all the military personnel, the commander of the mission was the first one to put himself together and rush to the radio equipment straight away to report what he just heard. The distress signal was received in the base camp, and the first and obvious choice for Admiral Byrd was to send an air support to check the mysterious signal and the source of the distant lights. The plane started taking off one after another and headed towards the expedition group in order to investigate the situation. But as soon as the planes approached them, all raiders started making strange sounds, and the compasses began to swing wildly in all directions. The next thing pilots saw was inexplicable. Massive disc-shaped crafts were bursting out of the ice and flying directly towards them. The American planes were instantly caught in a surprising fight. This was an ambush. The discs moved with impossible physics, turning corners faster than the eye could blink, accelerating in a matter of seconds. The US Air Forces were outmaneuvered like they weren't even flying. In a moment of panic, one of the American pilots opened fire, but the moment he did that, the silent disc flying object turned violently aggressive. They fired back, laser beams that sizzled through the air, causing electronics to fail instantly. One plane's engine suddenly cut out, plunging the aircraft into the vast darkness, killing everyone on board. Historical records, even Wikipedia itself, confirm 3 casualties, vaguely listed as flight accident with no further explanation. But the fighting wasn't only in the remote area of the expedition group. Some of the discs started attacking the ships nearby the base camp. On one destroyer, a sailor operating a deck gun was shot and killed by a sudden beam of energy. Massive casualties and damaged equipment mounted in just a few minutes. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the UFOs went silent and vanished, plunging back into the icy water. Everything became quiet again. The mission was planned for 8 months, but after an evaluation of the damages and the situation, Admiral Byrd knew they were utterly defeated and they had to leave now. Without even a warning to Washington, Admiral Byrd requested the evacuation of the entire operation. Severe weather conditions? Okay, but those who were there knew the truth. The storm wasn't just in the sky, it came from underneath the ice. After that disastrous mission, no other expedition ever dared to go that deep again. Every journey that followed stayed as close as possible to the coast, as if something unseen was warning them to keep their distance. In one of the rare interviews Admiral Byrd gave after returning from the mission, he stated that America should prepare for a new era of warfare and security threats, and that powerful forces could travel between continents, possibly through the polar regions. The question is, why would he say that only months after supposedly regular scientific mission, which ended abruptly with multiple casualties and the loss of valuable military assets? The fear only deepened when, in 1958, a French research team mysteriously vanished near the same coordinates as Bird's last known radar contact. Their final transmission reportedly mentioned something moving under the ice, describing it as living ice. Minutes later, radio silence. Were they caught in a sudden Antarctic storm or silenced by the same force that's still guarding the continent's secret? Just 1 year after that incident in 1959, something strange happened. The Antarctic Treaty was signed, an international agreement that established Antarctica as a zone for peace and science only. Of course, on paper, it was all about environmental protection, but in reality, maybe it was about protecting us from something else. Insiders later claimed the treaty wasn't just as an agreement, it was a containment plan. A silent pact between world powers to never again disturb what sleeps beneath the ice. Because after Operation Highjump and the French expedition, everyone understood one thing. Whatever the Americans encountered down there was far superior than anything ever seen before. Rumors spread through military circles that any attempt to break the treaty would unleash the same technology that annihilated Bird's fleet. So perhaps the world's governments decided to give Antarctica up in hope that the Nazis will remain there and won't come back. Even today, satellite images and ground-penetrating radar reveal strange geometric anomalies buried beneath the Antarctic ice. Perfect squares, impossibly straight lines, and structures far too regular to be natural formations. Could nature really create something like this? These formations stretch for kilometers, raising suspicions that this could be the legendary Fortress 211, now a massive underground city. Hangars, control hubs, transport tunnels, all aligned with surgical precision. Perhaps these lines are not just ancient remnants, but functioning structures, still operating beneath the frozen surface, working on technologies far beyond our understanding. Reports of unidentified flying objects over the Antarctic coast have never stopped. These aren't just distant glows. Witnesses describe structured craft moving in formation, diving in and out of the ocean with impossible speeds. Could these be mere optical illusions or something far more deliberate? Many believe they originate from Base 211, the so-called heart of the Fourth Reich. Their mission? To guard hidden, secret territory, test advanced propulsion systems, and send a clear message to the world. Antarctica's secrets are meant to be there and not disturbed. Then there's Lake Vostok, sealed for millions of years, yet radiating inexplicable heat and consistent magnetic pulses. Officially, it's geothermal variance, but many suspect it's something else. The rhythmic heartbeat of an anti-gravity reactor powering the underground complex. Beneath the surface, a vast network of geothermal caves hums with energy, a power source that may still be active, keeping the base alive and waiting. Imagine this, a secret city buried beneath miles of Antarctic ice, a military and scientific fortress where all experiments are allowed. If they possessed anti-gravity flying discs back in 1945, what kind of weapons and technology have they developed since? This isolation became the perfect place for radical innovation, where the remaining Nazi can explore the frontiers of physics and biology far beyond our understanding. It is also believed they have unlocked technologies that defy everything we know: space bending, unlimited energy, and a new human race. One of the most fascinating theories suggests that after Antarctic Treaty was signed, Base 211 has become a secret factory for something much worse than flying discs. They've created the so-called Übermensch, a genetically perfect human being that possesses enormous physical power and superior intellect. The Übermensch race was supposed to continue the legacy of the first-generation scientists, and these scientists were among the ones responsible for the cruel human experiments during World War II. There are multiple reports from concentration camps of sterilizations and injections given to people, leading to intense suffering. Reproductive organs of victims were being exposed to high dose of X-rays, causing irreversible damage, and many other ways of tortures I wouldn't like to mention. Under Antarctica, the Nazi scientists found the freedom to continue what they have been doing for many years. Their goal was to remove the weaknesses of the human body. Using previous data from past experiments, they started trials with human babies. They weren't doing just cloning, they were altering the whole DNA of the next Nazi generation. And these experiments actually gave results. The experiments went too far when human DNA began to be merged with species from Lake Vostok. The Übermensch became reptilian, a cold-blooded creature that can mimic human form and live among us without being noticed. Could the Nazi science develop so far that they created those lizard people and infiltrated societies and high-end circles, gaining the ultimate political power as the darkest conspiracies claim? Some believe they achieved exactly this. In 2013, during a speech by President Obama, video footage captured a Secret Service agent with unusually bizarre features. The footage shows a guard with a strange, elongated head and unnatural movements. For many people, this was proof one of the lizard people failed their disguise at the highest level of security. The claims don't stop there. Older conspiracies suggest even the British royal family are part of this reptilian bloodline. There are photos showing slit pupils and unnatural skin on the Queen Elizabeth II. Instantaneous changes in eye shape, quickly disappearing scales on the skin. Are these just poor video qualities or flaws of the cover of a much colder race that's watching us closely? The conclusion of this theory is simple. The Nazis who escaped World War II are now a secret group of lizard people. They run the world not by force, but by advanced technology in order to maintain their cruel ideas safe. But if they already run the world, who keeps sending those flying discs? Why do we see UFOs so often near most of the secret military places? Many believe these UFOs are just drones from base 211. Their job is simple: watch and control. These discs always fly over our army bases, nuclear plants and science labs. Why? Maybe they're checking up on the rest of the world's technology. If we develop a weapon or scientific knowledge that could fight base 211 like our anti-gravity, they will know immediately. This is why perhaps every UFO sightings are just patrols sent from base 211. They are there to make sure we never catch up to their power. So beneath the Antarctic ice, base 211 stands as a hidden fortress pulsing with energy, guarding secrets humanity is not prepared yet to face. Or does it? We've dived deep into one of the strangest stories ever told, but before we finish, we must ask a few simple questions and look at the facts. Question number 1. Could those 100 missing scientists build a city and an advanced fleet without the world ever knowing? Officially, Lake Vostok is buried under nearly 4 kilometers of ice. Building a secret city there would require a massive operation, impossible to hide from the Soviet Union nor from the United States. Question number 2. Was Operation Highjump a secret war? Highly unlikely. The US Navy lost 3 men in a plane crash due to a snowstorm, not a laser battle. This is documented and testified by multiple witnesses. We should also ask the question, is it possible that nearly 5,000 people that have been there on this same expedition lie that they have left due to extreme weather and stick to this version for the rest of their lives? I don't think so. At least some of them should have come up and said, well, we've been attacked by UFOs or something that we haven't ever seen before. Question number 3. We saw the picture of Queen Elizabeth II with the so-called reptilian eye. But let's say for a moment that, okay, she has the lizard eye and she's part of the Nazi secret society. How can this be possible if she was born in 1929, when the Nazis were just a small political party with literally zero influence in Germany? Not to mention that the Übermensch is said to be developed after World War II, when Queen Elizabeth was well in her 20s or even 30s. So it's definitely not possible that she's part of the so-called lizard people, because simply there were none around the time when she was born. So what's the truth? While the story of a hidden Nazi base and reptilian rulers is fascinating, the historical scientific evidence points totally against it. Do we believe a massive secret reptilian empire controls our governments all the way from Antarctica? Maybe we give this whole theory just a tiny small 5% chance of being true at all. But here's the final twist. The fact that this story exists That so many people actually believe in it proves one thing: Antarctica's mystery still holds a powerful grip on the human mind. Perhaps the most dangerous secret is not what's under the ice, but our fear of the unknown. Thank you for staying with me while we dug down this captivating story about Antarctica. I hope you liked it, and if so, please subscribe and hit the notification bell button, as this will help the Mystic Lab channel. Thank you, and see you in the next one.